All right, what's up, YouTube? I hope that you guys are all doing blessed and well. We're going to continue with the Bible study about the spirit of Absalom and dealing with the narcissist spirit. Of course, Absalom is not the only person who embodied these traits in the Bible. There's other characters, main characters specifically, who embody like these attributes, Jezebel and, others. But in this particular Bible study, we're studying on the spirit of Absalom, really, digging into a lot of the things that he did and how it embodies the worldly term of narcissism or what a narcissist is. And I'm going to make it known again, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, so it's not particularly anyone, if someone's dealing with these spirits or embodied with these spirits, it's spirits altering people to do certain things. Everything and everyone is led by a spirit, which is a whole nother video, a whole nother subject. Like, what spirit are you led by? But in particular, narcissist is described as someone whose personality traits include a sense of entitlement, a lack of empathy, a need for admiration, manipulative, grandizing, envy and belittlement, arrogance, and lack of accountability with the need for constant attention and admiration. Also a need for control. And we're going to just get back into the studying in 2 Samuel. We're going to be in chapter 16, I believe. So we're going all the way up through chapter 18. So hopefully in this video I can finish it. If not, I'll make another part to it. So verse number 1 in 2 Samuel chapter 16. And when David was a little past the top of the hill, behold, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, met him with a couple asses saddled, and upon them 200 loaves of bread and 200 bunches of raisins and 100 of summer fruits and a bottle of wine. And the king said to Ziba, what meanest thou by these? And Ziba said, the asses before the king's household to ride on, and the bread and summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine that such as be faint in the wilderness may drink. And the king said, and where is thy master's son? And Ziba said unto the king, behold, he abideth at Jerusalem. For he said, today shall the house of Israel restore me the kingdom of my father. So I want to point this part out right here. So the king, being King David, is asking Ziba, like, all right, where's my son at? The son being Absalom. Okay. And Absalom has it says Ziba responded, saying that your son, he's in Jerusalem, and he said, today shall the house of Israel restore me the kingdom of my father. So what's interesting to me right here is, first of all, King David is well and alive, and he, at this point in time, wasn't passing off his kingdom. So what do you mean restore me? As if it was something that he lost, right? This is another attribute, like a sense of entitlement, right? For whatever reason, Absalom felt that he deserved, or these spirits in him were leading him to have the understanding or the feeling that he deserved this kingdom of his fathers. And as we get into it, it's going to get a little deeper. Then said the king to Ziba, behold, thine are all that pertained unto Mephibosheth. I don't know. And Ziba said, I humbly beseech thee that I may find grace in thy sight, my lord, O king. And whenever you see beseech, it's like ask, to ask. So he's saying, I'm humbly asking you that I may find grace in thy sight, my lord, O king. And when King David came to Baharim, behold, thence came out a man of the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gera. He came forth and cursed still as he came. Now, this is important. I thought this was interesting too, because if you remember, David and Saul went through all these things, and Saul was very much against David. As soon as, David started, after he killed Goliath and people started praising David for what he had done, Saul became very jealous. very envious. And it even says in the Bible that an evil spirit was sent upon him, like where he was trying to kill David with the javelin. It's a long story, what you guys should read. But most importantly, now this man has come out to curse David, and he's from the house of Saul. And he cast stones at David and at the servants of King David, and all the people and all their mighty men were on his right hand and on his left. And thus said Shammai when he cursed, come out, thou bloody man, and thou men of Belial. Now, I don't want to go left right now, but when you see Belial in the word, it's like these basically calling him a wicked man, saying like, you're a man of wickedness or whatever. The Lord hath returned upon thee all the blood of the house of Saul, in whose stead thou hast reigned. And the Lord hath delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom thy son. And behold, thou art taken in thy mischief, because thou art a bloody man. Now, this man is cursing David. This man is literally saying, David, you deserve this. This is what you get, basically. All these things. And speaking this out of his mouth, and we know about the power of the tongue. Now, we're going to see how David responds. David, being a man after God's own heart, right? Then said Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, unto the king, why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over, I pray thee, and take off his head. Abishai's like, let me deal with this man. I'll do something about it, right? Verse number 10, and the king said, what have I to do with you, ye sons of Zeruiah? So let him curse, because the Lord hath said unto him, curse David. Who shall then say, wherefore has he done so? So David's responding like, what do I have to do with you? You guys are acting wickedly, right? Number one. Number two, David's saying, let him curse. And then he said, because the Lord hath said unto him, curse David. Now, what's sticking out to me right now is, that scripture that says all things are working together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. David, being a man after God's own heart, heavily used by the Lord, heavily used multiple times throughout the Bible. It's all over, right? So he's saying, because the Lord had said unto him, curse David, who shall then say, wherefore hast thou done so? So David's pretty much in this instance, like, let him do what he's doing. Let him go ahead and curse, because if he's doing this for a reason, it must be something behind it. It must be a reason why this is happening this way. And David said to Abishai and to all his servants, behold, my son, which come forth of my bowels, seeketh my life. How much more now may this Benjamite do it? Let him alone, and let him curse, for the Lord hath bidden him. Now, David's like, look, my own son that came from me, he's seeking my life. And you want me to worry about this random man talking about cursing me? Let him curse, let him do it. And then he said, for the Lord hath bidden it. Like, the Lord let this happen. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, so I don't want people to go left, but it's saying like, you got to keep reading on so you can understand like behind it. But it's saying, for the Lord hath bidden it. The Lord let this happen, and we're rolling with it. Verse number 12, right? It may be the Lord will look on my affliction, and that the Lord will requite me good for his cursing this day. Come through, David. Because like when this man was cursing David and them, like Abishai and them are like, let's do something about this. And David's like, no, the Lord is letting this happen for whatever reason. And in verse number 11 says, for the Lord hath bidden him. And now in verse number 12 is giving explanation into why David is saying that. It may be that the Lord will look on my affliction. If we go right back to, I believe in Genesis, where it says, he'll bless those, or it might be Deuteronomy, he'll bless those who bless thee and curse those who curse thee. That's a spiritual law right there. It may be that the Lord look on my affliction and that the Lord will requite me good for his cursing this day. Verse number 13. And David and his men went by the way. Shimei went along on the hillside over against him and cursed as he went and threw stones at him and cast dust. So Shimei is over there throwing rocks and sand and all type of stuff and still cursing him. And the king and all the people that were with him came weary and refreshed themselves there. And Absalom and all the people of the men of Israel came to Jerusalem, and Ahithophel with him. Now, remember in chapter number, what are we on, 16? So in chapter number 15, there was something up with Ahithophel. Let me go back real quick. Now, in chapter number 15 of 2 Samuel, verse number 31, it says, and one told David, saying, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. And David said, O Lord, I pray thee, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. Let's continue. Let's go back to number 16, chapter 16, right? And Absalom, we're back in number 15, verse number 15. And Absalom and all the people of the men of Israel came to Jerusalem, and Ahithophel with him. And it came to pass, when Hushai the Argite, David's friend, was come unto Absalom, that Hushai said unto Absalom, God save the king, God save the king. And Absalom said to Hushai, is this thy kindness to thy friend? Why wentest thou not with thy friend? So Hushai was David's friend, and Absalom saying, like, why didn't you go with your friend? But remember, there's reason behind this. Go watch the last video, part 2, where, just go watch it, because I'm not going to keep repeating it. And Absalom and Hushai, verse number 17, and Absalom and Hushai, is this thy kindness to thy friend? Why wentest thou not with thy friend? And Hushai said unto Absalom, nay, but whom the Lord and this people and all the men of Israel choose, his will I be, and with him I will abide. And again, whom should I serve? Should I not serve in the presence of his son, as I have served in thy father's presence, so will I be in their presence. And remember, if you go back to chapter 15, this is something that was already discussed between Hushai and David. Then Absalom said to Ahithophel, give counsel among you what we shall do, right? And remember, in chapter number 15, David prayed to the Lord and said, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. And Ahithophel said unto Absalom, go in unto thy father's concubines, which ye have left to keep the house, and all Israel shall hear that thou art armored of thy father. Then shall the hands of all that are with thee be strong. I want to look up what armored mean real quick. Arbor, however you pronounce it. Regard with disgust and hatred. So basically, Ahithophel is telling Absalom, okay, go into your father's concubines, being King David's concubines. And it told us in a previous chapter that he left these women, 10 women, to keep the house, to take care of the house while they fled. Him and all the other people that fled with him. And Israel shall hear that thou art arbor. And we just read the definition of arbor, which means like regarded in hate or disgust. Basically, Israel's going to think that your father hates you or your father doesn't like you. And then the hands of all that are with thee will be strong. And remember, David prayed to turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness, right? And we're just going to continue on. But that verse is important. So they spread Absalom a tent upon the top of the house, and Absalom went in unto his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. That's bold, right? That's really bold. And the counsel of Ahithophel, which he counseled in those days, was as if a man had inquired at the oracle of God. So was the counsel of Ahithophel both with David and with Absalom. So this is important here too. Ahithophel was looked at, he was his counselor, he was looked at as someone is like, you're really speaking of God. It says, was as if a man had inquired at the oracle of God. But mind you, David prayed to turn his counsel into foolishness. That's number one.
Too far, man. How do you sleep at night?
All right, let's go down to... So that was number one. He prayed to turn his counsel into foolishness. And then even though Ahithophel counseled this to Absalom, or told Absalom to do this, we're still going to see how it plays out. Moreover, Ahithophel said unto Absalom, let me now, this is 2 Samuel chapter 17, verse 1, let me now choose out 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue after David this night. All right, that's his counsel, right? This is what he's saying we should do. And I want to touch back on Absalom sleeping with all his, with the 10 concubines of his father. Actually, I'm not going to touch on it. Let's keep going. And I will come upon him while he is weary and weak-handed, and I will make him afraid, and all the people that are with him shall flee, and I will smite the king only. So now Ahithophel is saying, let me get these men, and I'm going to sneak up pretty much on King David, and I'm going to kill him. Verse number 3, and I will bring back all the people unto thee. The men who thou seekest is as if all returned. So all the people shall be in peace. Then saying, and the saying pleased Absalom and all the elders of Israel. Mind you, Absalom is King David's son. Absalom hopped up one day and said he wanted to reign, and he is now trying to take the kingdom from his dad. This is someone, when we talk about narcissistic traits, and let me stop saying someone, but these spirits operating in him, apparently he definitely had a sense of entitlement because he was willing to steal the kingdom. Lack of empathy because this was his own father. He went into his father's concubines. He's in agreement with his father being killed, right? This is someone who is manipulative because when we go back to the prior chapters, if you go back to part 1 and part 2, this is someone who was willing to take any means necessary to manipulate situations, be that burning down Joab's field, his barley or whatever it was, be that, manipulating King David in the beginning in order to let him bring his brother out to wherever they were going in order to kill him. This is manipulative behavior and a sense of arrogance, and of course a lack of accountability, because after he did the thing with his brother, when he had Amnon killed, he fled because he didn't want to deal with the consequences. He fled and went elsewhere. When he burned down, sent people to burn down Job's field, he was pretty much like, well, you didn't come, so that's what happened. No type of no type of recompense was listed in the scripture for us to pull from. He was just kind of like, well, you didn't come when I called you, so that's what you get. A lack of accountability. No desire to really apologize or take accountability for what was done when he was wrong. And mind you, these are spirits operating in him because everything comes from a spirit. So verse number 4, we just read that Absalom is well pleased with the counsel of Ahithophel to go kill his own father, to have his father killed. Verse number 5. Then Absalom said, call now Hushai, the Archite, also, and let us hear likewise what he saith. And when Hushai was come to Absalom, Absalom spake unto him, saying, Ahithophel hath spoken after this manner. Shall we do after his saying? If not, speak thou. And Hushai said unto Absalom, the counsel that Ahithophel hath given, it's not good at this time. So he's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think y'all need to do that. Anyway, verse number 8. For Hushai said, thou knowest thy father and his men, that they be mighty men, and they be chaffed in their minds, as a bear robbeth of her whelps in the field. And thy father is a man of war, and will not lodge with the people. Behold, he is hid now in some pit, or in some other place, and it will come to pass, when some of them be overthrown at the first, that whosoever heareth it will say, there is a slaughter among the people that follow Absalom. And he also that is valiant, whose heart is as the heart of a lion, shall utterly melt. For all Israel knoweth that thy father is a mighty man, and they which be with him are valiant men. So Hushai is pretty much saying, like, no, don't go do that, because one, we know your father, King David, is a man of war. He's mighty, and he's got mighty men with him. And then as soon as they hear there's some type of slaughter going on, all the people are gonna like, it's gonna be something. So this is not a good idea for you to go do that. Verse number 11. Therefore I counsel that all Israel be generally gathered unto thee, from Dan even to Beersheba, as the sand that is by the sea, for multitude, and that thou go into battle in thy own person. So shall we come upon him in some place where he shall be found, and we will light upon him as the dew falleth on the ground, and of him and of all the men that are with him, there shall not be one left. There shall not be left so much as one. So Hushai is like, no, let's play this differently. Moreover, if he be gotten into a city, then shall all Israel bring ropes to that city, and we will draw it into the river until there be not one small stone found there. And Absalom and all the men of Israel said, the counsel of Hushai, the Argite, is better than the counsel of Ahithophel, for the Lord have appointed to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel, to the intent that the Lord might bring evil upon Absalom. So now this is important. Remember David prayed, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. And now Hushai, who's David's friend, has come along and said, no, don't do that. And Absalom and the men of Israel, they agreed, like, okay, we shouldn't go do that. But look what it says. For the Lord had appointed to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel. The Lord had appointed, meaning the Lord set this in motion, that the counsel of Ahithophel was foolishness, just like David prayed unto him, to the intent that the Lord might bring evil upon Absalom. This was it says to the intent, meaning like Absalom's trying to kill King David. We know King David's a man after God's own heart, and all those things that we've already discussed in these past few videos. But the reason is there for the intent that the Lord might bring evil upon Absalom. The Lord's about to do something about Absalom. He's about to do something about Absalom. Then said Hushai to Zodok, and to Abiathar the priest, thus and thus did Ahithophel counsel Absalom and the elders of Israel, and thus have I counseled. Now therefore send quickly.
All yours. How do you sleep at night?
Honey, man, I just format this.
Now therefore, verse number 16, now therefore send quickly and tell David, saying, Lodge not this night in the plains of the wilderness, but speedily pass over, lest the king be swallowed up and all the people that are with him. So remember, Hushai was David's friend, right? So he's going to go back to Zodach and Abiathar and saying, look, Ahithophel, who was, a conspirator, who David prayed, like, let his counsel turn into foolishness. Ahithophel said this to Absalom, and I said this. And he's saying, like, okay, now go back and tell David, don't lodge in the plains of the wilderness this night, but pass over, right? Lest the king be swallowed up and everyone that's with him. Now Jonathan and Ahimaaz stayed by Enrogel, for they might not be seen to come into the city. And a wench went and told them, and they went and told King David. So these people went and told King David. Nevertheless, a lad saw them and told Absalom, but they went both of them away quickly, and came to a man's house in Bahurim, which had a well in his court, whither they went down. So, these people went and like hid in this well or whatever. And the woman took and spread a covering over the well's mouth and spread ground corn thereon. And the thing was not known. So these people who went and told, now they're hiding in this well or whatever, and they're covering up this well and putting like ground up corn on there so no one knows that these people are in this well. And when Absalom's servant came to the woman to the house, they said, where is Ahimaaz and Jonathan? And the woman said unto them, they be going over the brook of water. And when they had sought and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem. Right? And it came to pass, after they were departed, that they came up out of the well, and went and told King David, and said unto King David, arise and pass quickly over the water, for thus hath Ahithophel counseled against you. So they made it to King David. They came out of the well after hiding in there. So Absalom and his folks didn't find them, and they went and told King David, like, okay, get up out of here, right? And David arose, and all the people that were with him, and they passed over Jordan by the morning light. There lacked not one of them that was not going over the Jordan. And when Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his ass and arose and got him home to his house, to his city, and put his house in order, and hanged himself and died, and was buried in the sepulchre of his father. Who else hung themselves and died? Judas. Right? It's these.
Too far, man.
Then David came to Mahanaim, and Absalom passed over the Jordan, he and all the men of Israel with him. And Absalom made Amasa captain of the host instead of Joab, which Amasa was a man's son, whose name was Ithra, an Israelite, that went into Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, sister to Zeruiah, Joab's mother. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing these names wrong. Verse number 20.